Sorry, I just got interrupted by a phone call from my physics teacher who told me that there's tuition today. I have to go, but not right now. After like 2 hours, I guess. So the beauty, as I was speaking, the beauty of speaking regularly in front of this camera is that I get to talk about the things that I'm learning every single day, and by doing so, I am also retaining some of the knowledge. The problem that I am facing right now is retaining knowledge. No matter how much you research, no matter how much you read about stuff, if you don't store them in some place, then for me, it's working for me. What I have seen in my own uh, brain is that I have a really hard time remembering things if I don't take notes of them or if I don't talk about them. And that's the reason why I will be also talking about some of the stuff that I regularly read in this, you know, in front of this camera. So let's see how it goes, and I will be seeing how far I can retain knowledge. Day before yesterday, I was researching about space missions. I have downloaded Wikipedia app, and the thing is that Wikipedia is itself is an encyclopedia, and I the beauty of it is that it's so huge. It's much bigger than universities. The information that it has in it, right? And I was in like people doom scroll for hours. I might be replacing doom scrolling by hours with reading articles, doom like scrolling and reading articles one by one for hours. At that day, I read about 4 hours, 50 minutes straight, approx 5 hours. I was just reading articles because those missions, those things really hooked me in. What are those things? Space missions like when Europe Space Agency sent their satellite, no, not satellite, but a spacecraft that could land a rover around a comet. That satellite went near that comet, established the established the orbit around that orbit. The lowest distance was 10 kilometer and the highest distance was 30 kilometer. And at a certain point of time, the spacecraft has uh, like released a land rover which actually doesn't have any wheels. It's just touch and go to obtain the samples of the comet, right? So when the hopper went down and touched the surface of the comet, it initially bounced off, right? But in a second attempt, the fur I can remember, the second it did the attempt again, it did collect some samples, and the drilling point which goes down into the surface to check the composition of the comet. I was reading all of the stuff, the instruments that they are using, the sub systems that the spacecraft has, the amount of what I can say, the amount of power they are using per minute during that mission. Unfortunately, their battery ran out, and they have to crash the satellite, I mean the spacecraft, to the comet itself. But it was really fascinating to read such missions. Like it occurred 10 years back in time. And the thing is that when I was reading the documentation, how it occurred minute by minute, it seemed for me as if I was watching a movie happening in real time. There's a power of reading, I mean, it's better than watching videos of things occurring. like while reading you can just imagine all sorts of things that are happening. You get to use your brain, your imagination, to form images of such things occurring in the real time, right? But while watching videos you can't be able to do that, because the things are already happening, you just have to see them with your eyes. But in this sense I just get to imagine things. I get to use my imagination, my brain, right? From this one remember I remember an article that I read long ago in Substack. It's not an article, but it was a short story about a grandfather and his granddaughter. They were going towards a library, but the granddaughter was unaware of that. The granddaughter, as the story described, was very dull in her thinking. Her brain was kind of dull, and it was, what can I express that in words? It was kind of, not in a very colorful way of seeing things. Like her way of seeing things of life was not very colorful. Everything was black and white in sorts. In like if I say it in short, it was black and white. But the grandfather insisted that if her granddaughter starts to read books, she will start to imagine things out of her own brain. And that will force her granddaughter to, think everything in a very colorful sense of way. What I mean by that is that her granddaughter will start to think while reading the books. Her granddaughter will be imagining the things happening in real time, and that will make her brain colorful and life perspective more beautiful, right? So, but the thing is that that thing really happened. The granddaughter and grandpa went to the library, and there were stacks of books all across the library, and there were racks, right? There were racks of books all around the library, and the daughter, the granddaughter went out to explore such books, while the grandpa was also exploring this kind of books. And then the grandpa um, like got out a single book that was, I guess, that was a favorite book of him, and he took out a note, a piece of paper, and put on a note and inserted it in that book to give it to her granddaughter. But suddenly, a group of thugs, three boys, I guess, a group of thugs, I don't know for what kind of dispute, I don't remember that. For what kind of dispute, those thug of boys punched the grandpa, that old grandpa, whose age was very, old, and yeah, the grandpa really got injured really bad, because of which he went to the hospital. And the end of the story describes as her grandpa passing out, and the granddaughter eventually found out the book that he was holding in, and then he kept it with her for many years. At the end of the story, it has been described that the granddaughter grew a lot, like grew from the teenage age, and then she still remembers how grandpa used to talk about books with her. She still remembers the book that the grandpa was holding in his last minutes. And that story was really beautiful, really beautiful. Because I think today, everything you see on the internet, no matter how, like, this generation, this upcoming generations, will get mobile phones from the very start. But if they don't have the practice of reading books, then their perspective of life would be very dull. And I'm very sure of that, because That's exactly what it is. If you don't practice, if you don't have that perspective to imagine things on your minds while reading words, then I mean, books is such a beautiful portal to leap through different kind of lives, different kind of characters, different kind of perspectives, right? And that's why it's really, really good habit to read books every single day. So, as I was speaking about the story, did I able to speak it in a very structured way? Nah. I gotta explain such stories in a regular basis so that the structure that I am speaking right now would be improved in a very natural way. What I am very much excited about is that the way I used to stumble in early days of speaking, stumble in the sense of using lot of filler words like I don't do that now. I didn't do that right now. I take the time to feel the silence between my words, and that practice has been successful since that day. I'm very much proud of that. Another motivation of improving speaking skills is that in the future, in the coming very soon future, I would be applying for many internships or remote jobs. And I would be in Zoom calls with those recruiters, aka interviews. And in order to excel interviews, bro, you have to be fluent and very much efficient in what you speak out, bro. And the ability to bring out words to describe what you exactly want to make others see is a skill, bro. And once you develop this innate skill, no one is going to take that away from you. It's going to be with you till your date. Now, as I was speaking, yeah, I was speaking about space missions and then the story of that grandpa and granddaughter. Let's talk about the Wikipedia more that I was reading on that day. Another thing that I was reading about was the development of Linux, the software, the operating system that powers 96% of computer systems all around the world. Even and also the Android phones that we are using right now. Absolutely, Linux has been the legend, the goat, the founder, the creator who made the software basically was making this for fun, I guess. Nah, he was a computer geek, very much so. He was a very computer geeky person, and was a component. Unfortunately, I don't remember the terms of instruments, which is very unfortunate because if I don't remember those things are very important for describing such documentation. If I don't remember, then it's useless, bro. It's a waste of time. I have to retain things, bro. That's why I should speak out day and day. Whenever I read, I think that I have to do that. Also, I was planning, like, I have a new diary right here, and I was planning to use that diary to document everything that I study every single day. What I mean by that is that everything, every kind of technology that I come across, every kind of new things that I come across the Wikipedia on the internet, I take the images of that technologies and then paste that images from yeah. So as I was speaking, I will take the images of the new technologies and then paste that image on the diary and write and scribble about the notes that I will be thinking in my mind. Not only that, but I will also use that to document every kind of space missions that I read about their objectives, about the kind of satellites that they have used in that technology, in that mission, about the instruments that they carried out, making the satellite. That things are so fascinating, bro. I mean, imagine just building such instruments, combining them all together to see a one spacecraft going out to space and then finally performing all those tasks that you designed the satellite made for. That thing is so fascinating, bro. I mean, so so and yeah, I was reading about asteroids. What I mean by asteroids, I'm very nerd when it comes to space mining. I don't know, it just sticks in my mind. And there are three kinds of asteroids. That is, one is M type asteroids, which are basically consists of H2O, water, which will be used for potentially refueling spacecrafts and applying water propulsion, I guess. Second is S-type asteroids, which are metallic, has metals like iron, silicate, all those kind of metals, and rare earth metals, I guess. Third kind is I unfortunately don't remember the type name, and that's what I was talking about. If you can't retain things, then there's the time you have spent reading those stuffs become a wastage, bro. If you don't remember those things. The final type of asteroid was, it described itself as very rare, but was very much metallic. Very much metallic. Now, the space rocks that I was reading about through the Wikipedia, they had their images photographed in there. I could print out that photographs and paste it on my diary, write out the name of the asteroid and the characteristics that it has. In the asteroid belt itself, there are many asteroids that are being already identified, named, and also kind of predicted the kind of materials it will have through telescopes by reflecting light on them. And when you reflect certain kind certain kinds of light on those rocks, you will get to see different kind of colors that are emitting from there, and by that you will be able to identify the classification of those rocks. I was watching about that someday in a video where the scientist was actually explaining how light's being used to identify the kind of composition the asteroids will have in itself. That's really beautiful. And along the rabbit hole of reading the whole thing, I also read about planetary resources and deep space industries. The two space companies that were being made out, one of them was being funded by the founder of Google himself. But that both of them went bankrupt and were being bought out by some other companies. That's very unfortunate because when I was reading the documentation, the history of those companies being in development, most of the time was what I was reading is that they were talking about making this and that to raise funds from investors. You are spending your whole time talking about things that you are not making, and then just to run after investors so that they can invest on your startup. I mean, that's true because without money, you can't do such big things in space. space requires huge budget, but you are running after money all the time while doing things less. And that's what I dislike about this investor stuff. If you don't have money on your own, if you don't have your capital in a, you know, all those investors always ask about profit, but they have to understand that this space missions requires a lot of research and development, R&D, experimentation, failures before the protocol, before the final working prototype arrives. But until that point, you have to just spend your whole money on research and development. Without that, you won't be able to find out how those structures work. I don't know how these people don't yet understand this thing. And yeah, that's obvious because as an investor, I mean, most of the investors are running after profit, so they will be demanding, "Where's my profit?" That's the thing I'm able to know right now. The best way to do space missions is like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, how they are doing it. They themselves are billionaires. They have the whole vision under their own control. They have the budget. That's what I am talking about. When billionaires enter the space race, it always becomes successful. Always. You know, the Stoke space company that is being funded by Bill Gates, that I mean that space company is doing amazing progress on the second stage propulsions. And it's very fun to see, bro. I mean, they're wasting no time making such things, making prototype one, two, three, and then blasting them out one by one just to identify what went wrong one by one, and then iterating the issues one by one and just making it better every single time. And that's what I am talking about. If you have budget of billions, I mean not million, billions, then you can do many things. This space mission requires billions, 10 billions, 50 billions of money, bro. You can't just enter the space company. You just can't enter this as space, labeling a space company and then, running all the day after investors. That will take more than 10, 20 years to gather millions, bro. I mean, it will be a waste of time, bro. You'll be very much exhausted. And not only that, those investors who are investing on your company, they are actual owners of the company, bro. You don't have 100% ownership over your own vision. And that's the biggest disadvantage. I want to avoid that. The ideal way to go through that path is by becoming billionaire yourself and then doing the research and development yourself. By that, you will have your own vision under your own control. That's what I'm talking about. But some exceptions always remains. But still, if you see relativity space, the space company that is making 3D rockets, 3D printed rockets, 100% 3D printed rockets. I've only seen them releasing, not me, but they have only released two rockets, I guess. The one rocket. They've only ignited. They have only released two rockets. So launched. I'm using the wrong word here. They have launched one or two rockets only, but then they are just the progress is really slow. What I like about Elon Musk is that he's very ruthless about the progress that he's making. He wants things fast, very fast, no matter if it fails or not. You have to fail faster and improve faster. That's his philosophy, and I like that because these things, space companies really need deadlines and discipline. Without that, you are not making it big happening within your own lifetime, bro. Your lifespan is limited. If you just spend doing doogie things, then it will only remain in doogie terms. And yep, 25 minutes has been done. Let's talk more. 5 minutes. It will be 30 minutes. No, what I was talking. Yeah, a year ago, I used to be I used to be up to the date on the terms of new technologies that I'm running out of words. I don't know why. Okay. And year before, 2 years before, I used to keep myself updated with the kind of technologies, up to date technologies that comes up every single day. Technologies such as foldable printed circuit boards. What I mean by foldable is that it's like a cloth basically. It's like a cloth like this. Traditional printed circuit board is rigid. It's straight. It's not foldable. But these kind of PCBs that are being in development right now, I mean, not only development but also being used right now, is really like a paper. And we also got foldable batteries. Also, we got foldable screens. You know what I am thinking about? Foldable batteries, foldable PCB, foldable screen, foldable battery, foldable PCB, foldable screen. I'm talking like the same way Steve Jobs introduced Apple phone. It's the same thing, bro. Foldable PCB, foldable battery, foldable screen. Combine them. Foldable phone like a cloth, bro. Motorola is making that, I guess. Many companies are making that. You can just watch it. You can just wear it like a watch here, bro. It will be like a wearable. And also, you don't have to hold your own phone that huge weight on your hand, right? It takes a lot of effort. Like it sometimes become very much uncomfortable carrying your phone on your hand like this, and have and you also have this fear of thieves snitching the phone out of your hand right away. But here, if you just wear the phone on the hand, no one's going to take that away from you. Also, you don't have to worry about holding the phone, and it just doesn't the uncomfortable that it becomes. It will not be uncomfortable while wearing it here. That's what I'm talking about. I think we are approaching a time where phones and laptops will no longer be distinguished, because once these foldable devices that I am talking about right now, if this thing happens, then formed your phone can be translated into watch, and then that can also be translated into laptop, full rigid laptops, phone to laptops, laptops to smartwatch, all in one. Just like how Apple combined three devices to make iPhone out of that. That's what I'm talking about. 29 minutes happen, and I'm tired already. Let's end it here. Meet you in next video.